Hello, and it's great for you joining us. Thank you very much for joining us for the Monday edition of Business Nigeria. Here are the highlights for the show. The Debt Management Office insists Nigeria not under debt stress as Naira falls at NAFEX window as external reserves dip by $1 billion. Shares look to extend rally before U.S. job test. Well, on our interview segment today, we'll have two big conversations. The first will be around devaluation of the Naira and what this means for the Nigerian economy, particularly manufacturers and, of course, regular users of Forex. And on the flip side, we'll shift our conversation to the Exchange Limited. We'll look at trade performance for the month of May. This is the last day of the month of May. Let's see what's played out. A lot of developments in the market. It was the same month the NGX, talking about the group, was demutualized, talking about the Nigerian Stock Exchange becoming the Exchange Group. Let's look at all of this and what it means for the trading populace. But first, let's look at big stories making headlines in the world of business. The Debt Management Office has insisted that the nation's debt is still sustainable, as it is yet to reach the threshold set by the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank. This is despite the negative toll the debt profile is having on the Nigerian economy. According to the report, the Economic Community of West African States has set maximum debt limit for West African countries at 70% of nation's gross domestic product. And Nigeria is still currently at 21%, while the external debt has set 40% benchmark. The representative of the DMO's Director General, Mr. Monday Saide, disclosed this during a presentation on Nigeria's local and foreign debt management at the West African Region Debt Advocacy and Training Session held in Abuja. Mr. Osaide says they have provided the debt sustainability analysis using the World Bank IMF template, which they will use to analyze the nation's debt yearly and advise the government on borrowing. The exchange rate between the Naira and the US dollar closed at 412 Naira to a dollar at the investors and exporters foreign exchange window. This represents a 0.24% decline compared to 411 Naira to a dollar recorded on Thursday. The previous week, Naira, however, remained stable on Friday as the parallel market to close at 495 Naira to a dollar, having depreciated from 493 Naira to a dollar recorded, that was on Thursday. The opening indicative rates declined by 7 kobo to close at 411 Naira to a dollar on Friday, as against 411 Naira 8 kobo to a dollar recorded on Thursday. Well, since the first quarter of 2020, the Nigerian economy battled serious foreign exchange crisis with severe pressure on the forex market and external reserves. The local currency is under the grip of tough external pressures characterized by internal foreign exchange shortages and consistently high black market rates, which has led to high disparity between the official exchange rate and black market rate. The Central Bank of Nigeria devalued the Naira by 7.6% against the dollar towards a single exchange rate system for a local currency, replacing the fixed rate of 379 Naira to a dollar used for official transactions with the more flexible NAFEX rate, which is also known as Investors and Exporters Exchange Rate, that averaged 410 Naira to 25 kobo per dollar. The central bank devalued the currency twice in 2020, and it has traded within a band of 380 Naira to 381 Naira to per USD since the last July, as the Naira has been under pressure from rising demand for US dollars and foreign exchange pulled out of the country in the wake of the global health crisis. This sent oil prices tumbling. Against the backdrop of the recent devaluation of the Naira by the Central Bank of Nigeria, economic and financial experts are of the view that the nation that is an import-based economy, the devaluation will likely have a devastating effect on the economy, leading to an increased level of poverty. I have joining me live from our Abuja studios to discuss this and, of course, other issues is a senior economist at SPM Professionals, Mr. Paul Alaje. Mr. Alaje, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate you. I understand Mondays are very busy days, but I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you so very much for having me.
Let me ask in a layman's form, let's start this discussion this way. What will be your direct response to this devaluation process or the exercise? Because even for the Apex Bank, they don't really want to call it devaluation. It's just like trying to match up rates. So they shy away from that word devaluation. Just like in the oil and gas industry, they shy away from the word deregulation. Now, what do you make of this change in rate? The CBN adopting the NAFEX window rate. What do you make of that?
Well, what I make of it for an economy, for Nigeria economy, it's that anyone who earned, say, 100,000 naira last week is now earning less, even though the person will be paid the same amount. The reason is because what 100,000 naira can afford last month is not just inflation that is impacting what money can buy. The value of our naira, of our local currency in the international market has a lot to do with what money can buy. So what this means is that with this devaluation from 379 to adoption of NAFEX window according to central bank to about 410 12 kobo, 410 naira 12 kobo, what it means is for those whose input is largely import based, for those who are importing to Nigeria, commodity prices will go high. You can see that in the metal industry, those who are selling iron steel, angle irons, hollow pipes, the prices have increased by 30 to 40% in the last 6 months. So, but that is not just the case. We even see other items that are imported to Nigeria. What it means is, even though you are earning the same amount of naira, but your counterparts in Ghana, your counterpart in the United States, your counterpart in UK, they will continue to live better than you are living, because the proportion, the power, the purchasing power of naira is what is affected. It is what is reduced each time we talk about devaluation. Whether we call it devaluation or we call it a review or we call it emaciating the value of naira, one thing is constant. Naira in terms of power can buy less of what it used to buy. And a better example for it is that if somebody imports, imagine you want to buy a laptops, virtually all the phones we use in Nigeria are imported. Almost all the finished products are imported. Those listening to us, maybe you are in a car, you are watching us on YouTube. YouTube is imported. Even the phone you are using to watch, the car is imported. So an economy that, according to National Bureau of Statistics, over 80% of our finished products are imported. And we have no option. The commodity that give us these effects, which of us has impact on our foreign reserve, we don't have direct control on the price. According to National Bureau of Statistics report, 2020 Q4, just one quarter, 90% of all our exports came from oil and gas. But the price, the commodity price of this important commodity to our economy, we could not determine it because we don't have influence on the forces of demand and supply. So the thing is, how can we continue to depend, to rely on this commodity and say, on the other hand, we are not going to be experiencing devaluation? I'm afraid it's not going to work. Since we've been studying this economy for about 30 to 40 years, I can tell you that consistently is Nigeria and the Naira has been going through one phase or the other of devaluation till today. And if you ask me if this will end, I will tell you the parameter you should check. If those parameters are not there, then you will see that Nigeria may see devalue. It does not mean devaluation absolutely means something bad. For an economy that is exporting, such economy we want to devalue so that it can make the other country a dumping ground. But an economy that is a net importer, I'm afraid devaluation will, rather than bringing your people out of poverty, rather than creating job, what it will do is that more and more people will become poor, more and more people will be out of job.
Mr. Paul, taking it from there, and you've cited some of the realities that we face at this time. There's drop in the price of crude oil, and of course, foreign portfolio investments significantly affects supply of FX, which is what you know. But our reserves also continue to dwindle with the support being given by the CBN. The CBN is also saying that this is just a way to try and unify the exchange rate. Do you see any unification happening with this move? Is it in the long term, or is that going to happen in the short term?
Okay, around second quarter, just a bit of background. Around second quarter, central bank devalued from 309 to about 360. It devalued again late last year from 360 to 379. Because of that second devaluation, 360 to 379, Nigeria added 1 trillion naira to debt. We did not borrow any money. Because those monies that we collected in foreign currency have now been devalued, it made our debt profile to increase. So you can actually owe more money by borrowing no money if you devalue your currency, particularly the component that is external borrowing from the debt profile. And that was exactly what happened to Nigeria. Because we devalued again from 379 to 410, 210 naira 12 kobo, we have added approximately another 1 trillion naira to debt profile. And don't take my word for it. Go and study the report when the debt management office made available first, second quarter report of what we are owing, second quarter report of what we are owing by 2021. You will see that maybe in the third quarter or fourth quarter. Then you would appreciate when we say we need to do something important about this. A lot of economists have made argument to say we need to unify exchange rates. It sounds good. It sounds nice, but we are not living in countries where things are normal. So when you live in an economy where things are working appropriately, then such economic theory will make sense. There are some theories that when you propagate them, you see that it's not good enough. I've seen people mention to me that why don't we just allow forces of demand and supply to adjudicate price? If naira to dollar will be 1,000, we should accept it. If it's 2,000, we should accept it. Now, what they don't understand is this. Everyone is saying people will automatically relocate to Nigeria. Then they will start production. They will see Nigeria as a good destination. Let me ask, do you have security concern about Southeast, about Northeast, about North Central, Northwest, South, and even Southwest? There is one security concern or the other. How would you say you want to have massive production in these geopolitical zones with the ongoing security challenges? Take that as a first concern. The second concern is I am yet to see countries with huge population that is developing at the rate we want to develop. I'm not talking of just GDP growth rate, which is very insignificant in this case. I'm talking of development, economic development, that don't have minimum of 50,000 megawatts. I'm yet to see. So take that as the second concern. Third one, have you seen any country with the kind of population we have and we desire to be like and don't have a functional economic development program for such country that lasts between 5 to 10 years? I'm also yet to see that. So when you look at policy, there are medium-term frameworks and short-term documents we are working with. They are not long in their perspective and orientation. And even when those documents are developed, like I said, when we have economic recovery and growth plan, and I had conversation with you on this show, and I told you in the beginning that I doubt if this document will perform what it was aimed to do. And when you look at it, it projected 7% GDP growth rate. It never had 3% GDP growth rate. I don't have to be a prophet to know. I knew because some of the ingredients you need for that beautiful document to become a reality were never in place in the first instance. At that time, when you compare that time to now, things were even better in terms of business environment, economic environment than we have now. Inflation right now is 18.12%. According to National Bureau of Statistics, unemployment is 33.3%, underemployment 22.8%. These are figures coming from an agency of government. All of this will make you worry and give you concern. So when you say it is now this time you want to unify naira to dollar, I mean, you want to allow forces of demand and supply, and you want to unify different exchange rates. It's good to unify, but if you are unifying up, I'm afraid that poverty, misery, and hunger we hold sway even among our people. So, but what should we do? What should we do? What should be the real conversation? What should we do? I don't know if it's time to answer some of those things I think we should do, but I've mentioned some of them over and over on your program. But of course, maybe with repetition, one person that will take decision may hear and decide to do the right thing, and we can have a better Nigeria.
Okay, we're still going to get to that point. Yes, truly. Let's now look at the unregulated market. That's the other side of it. Now, many say the movement in that market, as the exchange rate movement in that market, is driven largely by speculations. Do you agree to that?
Okay, so when you say speculation, somebody go pick exchange rate and put in his account, and this account he cannot use to transfer money abroad because of central bank policy, and he can't do quite a number of things because of it. First, government has the power to stop that market from existing. Government has the power. So it is either we want to use the power that government has to ensure that that market ceases to exist, or we continue to allow the market and we smile and suffer. And in the song of that popular musician of blessed memory, he called it suffering and smiling. We cannot continue to complain on what we can do something about. If we want to build a modern economy, we cannot have people exchanging as if they are, it's very frustrating and disappointing at the same time. My point here, my position here is that if we cannot do anything about it, it's better we legitimize that market and make regulation so that we include them within the financial sector. But if we are not going to include them within the financial sector and we're recognizing only the BDCs, then our conversation should be limited to the BDCs. But we all know that what we are denying is more potent than what we think. So what we should do, in my advice is either we bring them to regulate them so that we can see a lasting solution. The other option would have been for central bank to increase money supply, but you and I know that we are not earning enough, and there are no hopes that price of crude oil will go as high as $100 a barrel in the next 2 years, so there are no hopes. We are not certain right now, but with what we have is either we bring them, we have them, and they are regulated by Central Bank of Nigeria, or we make policy for their non-existence.
A good point there. Now, Mr. Paul, addressing the positives and the negatives of this development becomes very worrisome when you also see the likes of World Bank and IMF giving strict requirements for Nigeria, and one of it is this issue of exchange rate, to access loans and all of that. So do you see Nigeria or the Apex Bank trying to bend for opportunities like this? Because of course we still need to borrow. We are not making as much as we should make, and there's a revenue challenge in the country. So what would you say about requirements from the likes of World Bank and IMFs regarding to policies that will aid approval of loans?
Nigeria has no business borrowing money. I can tell you the federal government of Nigeria can generate as high as 40 trillion naira every year. That is times 5 of what we are doing now. If you are not generating it, I'm surprised that with all the possible revenue windows that we have, and by this I don't mean we should tax Okada rider or tax Keke Napep rider. I'm not even talking about taxing the people that are poor already. I am talking of organizations that declare trillions of naira in Nigeria, and we know them. And for those government don't know, we see their infrastructure, and we have some level of information to collect revenue that belongs to government legitimately from some of these organizations. We know where they are. I'm of the opinion that if government wants to generate revenue, we need to change approach. We need to adopt technology in generating revenue. I don't believe that Nigeria need in any form to borrow money from either World Bank or from multilateral organization or from even commercial borrowing, local or internal or external? I don't believe so. And I will send it to state government. Our estimate also revealed that state government can generate up to 55 trillion naira in Nigeria. I know when you talk about a state that did 6 billion, and we wonder that, oh, so am I going to increase that sporadically? It is because National Economic Council, where you have most decision maker in terms of economics of state and federal government, they need to listen to another opinion in terms of revenue generation, which should be our conversation going forward. How do we make more money so that you can inject such fund into Nigeria? When we look for windows of borrowing and devaluation becomes a parameter for borrowing, then the worry is high, because those you are borrowing from today, you will see payback. When you look at even the cost of servicing, whether you are servicing today or tomorrow, compare what we did in 2020 to revenue, almost 50% or more, and we are still borrowing. I think it doesn't show sanity for us to continue to borrow when we have not solved the real issue. The real issue is around revenue generation. It is possible for us to generate more than what we are doing now, and I think that should be the attention, and that should be the focus, I beg your pardon, of authorities.
The agri sector should also be one very strategic sector that should help contribute to the growth of Nigerian economy, particularly with regards to foreign exchange. But you also touched on that earlier. There's a great challenge, insecurity. So if we cannot get funding from that sector, what else are you thinking? If our agricultural sector were to be, yes, where we expected it to be, cocoa being produced and all that we need to be exported, Mr. Paul, what would you think will be the contribution to reserves?
Okay, so but when you look at how we are practicing agric in Nigeria today, it is not towards cocoa, it's not towards all those Gardner pyramid that we saw. It is purely towards consumption. And who makes revenue from consumption? Is it the farmers, the government, or the Nigerian people? What constitutes about 20% of our GDP, but contributes only 2% to government revenue? The truth is that the government of the under President Buhari have done a lot about agriculture, but the focus is wrong because it's not showing. Unlike the before independence or immediately after independence, when political leaders across region were focusing on cash crop, that government can measure the impact, and it was also responsible for our effects. The approach now has completely changed, not just with this administration, but from successive administration, from cash crop to majorly food crop in Nigeria. And people say, yes, we need to produce what we eat. I completely agree with that. But when you produce crops, who is going to process it? You can read National Bureau of Statistics report that they've 8 consecutive reports about GDP and contribution. Agriculture seems to have increased, but what component of agric has increased? What has increased in agriculture had remained crop production. Crop production of the component has increased, but what are we doing with the crops? Which revenue is the crop contributing to government? So economic activities, which include agriculture, is increasing. A larger proportion is coming from crop, but are we able to bring it down to the bottom line? Is it making any difference in our economy? Gone are the days where you think farming is for poor people. People should run farming as business. And I think government should now consider, how do we turn farming to business so that we can make a lot in terms of revenue, and we can also make a lot in terms of gains for our people.
Let's wrap up on this note. Economists like you will say we should always allow demand and supply to take charge of the market, even the petroleum market. That's been the argument, demand and supply. Do you think that a totally open market that will now run with based on demand and supply will help address some of these challenges, Mr. Paul?
Anyone that tells you that don't mean well for Nigeria. Anyone that tells you we should allow demand and supply, they are telling you half truth. The person is not telling you the implication on exchange rate. The person is not telling you the implication on debt, national debt, I beg your pardon. The person is not telling you the implication on purchasing power. The person has not told you that when you allow forces of demand and supply, it's like calling Anthony Joshua and Mr. Macaroni to a boxing tournament, and you now tell Anthony Joshua that Mr. Macaroni is the same weight with you, and you say nobody should judge. You just put a referee, and you expect Mr. Macaroni, the comedian, to win the box Anthony Joshua, heavyweight boxer. Your guess is as good as mine. Somebody will go out on stretcher. That is when you put Nigeria currency Naira, that is a net importer, with the United States currency, and you expect that we should allow forces of demand and supply to adjudicate prices. It will be unfair to us. Our decision we will make against ourselves that we should allow forces of demand and supply to adjudicate price. The truth is that it's not visible. Nigeria is not ready and does not have the capacity to float currency right now. The best central bank can do is this movement so that it can manage the situation. And I must give it to them. The central bank seems to have tried in an economy that is net importer. Central bank can't print US dollars. It's very difficult. It can't print dollars. So it is what we export. And look at the export component. What exactly are we exporting out of Nigeria, and in what volume are we exporting it? So you can't say so much about what central bank is doing, but unfortunately I think we need to do more about our economy, the programs that we are running, so that we can support and we can boost foreign reserve via export promotion and import substitution.
Mr. Paul Olaje, it's always a pleasure having you join us on the show. Thank you very much, senior economist, SPM professionals, live from our Abuja studios. We appreciate your time.
Thank you so much for having me.